So when I got home last night, I almost recorded this video then, but I wanted to sleep on it and take my time and really think about why this movie did not work for me. So I saw it at the Alamo last night, and real quick, they did have these pretty cool the Puritan 2 VHS cases. So you get this MaXXXine fucking Manx button. Get her headshot here. And this cool sticker pack. Pretty cool, right? I gotta say, I wish I liked the movie itself as much as I do that VHS case with all the cool stickers and stuff. First of all, this is going to be a non-spoiler review. I will do a full episode with my friend Shut Up James at a later date after he sees the movie. And by the way, if you haven't checked out his channel, please do so. He is legit hilarious. One of my favorite YouTubers, so check him out. But we are going to break down the whole movie at a later time. So for now, I'll keep this non-spoiler and just kind of talk about my general thoughts on the movie. So I think the main thing that didn't work for me with this is it just sort of felt aimless. And what I mean by that is MaXXXine is in downtown LA in the 80s. Great setting. I mean, aesthetically wise, everything is on point. This movie looks like it came from the 80s. It has that feeling of it. Tons of neon and just dark, foggy alleys with, blue lights behind it. Cinematography wise, this movie is on point, as well as the soundtrack. Of course, there's tons of 80s classics throughout it. There is, the way that Stranger Things, I think it was season 3, it's just very on the nose in terms of like, hey, this is the 80s. There were some moments like that in this that kind of made me grimace. I mean, if you look at X, it's set in 79 and it just feels like it's in 1979. Nobody's sitting around playing Pong or something like that. I always appreciate when movies do that, when they just capture the feeling as opposed to like shoving pop culture in your face. And this movie doesn't overly do that, but there is a close-up shot of a new Coke. It's like, okay. Yeah, I get it. We're in the 80s. I just think it feels kind of aimless. Like it's not sure what to do. All the characters that we are introduced to, other than the video store clerk that MaXXXine is friends with, he actually feels grounded and seems like a real person. As far as everybody else goes, all the side characters, they almost feel like cartoons. Especially Kevin Bacon, but his character just felt, I don't know, like over the top. He just comes off as like Wile E. Coyote or something. It just feels like a fucking cartoon. I don't know how to put it. Also didn't quite understand the motivation of his character. So he was hired to find MaXXXine. He's a private detective. But why is he on her case so much? He already found her. So, I don't know, I'm kind of getting off into the weeds there, but Kevin Bacon, his performance was fine, but the character itself, just a little too wacky for me. You have Bobby Cannavale as one of the cops. I mean, he's fine. Again, a little over the top. Giancarlo Esposito plays MaXXXine's agent, but all these characters just sort of felt like, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto loading screen characters or something. They just don't feel real. And Halsey is not in the movie that much, but while she is there, she has one of the worst New York accents I've ever heard. Elizabeth Debicki plays the director of the Puritan, who picked MaXXXine for the role, and she's sort of a mentor to MaXXXine. And there's a lot of scenes between them where it's basically saying, this is a tough business to make it in, and you gotta do what you gotta do to make it in Hollywood. Just beaten to death message. Like, we get it. Hollywood is hard. Okay. And then you have Mia Goth herself, MaXXXine. Out of the 3 movies, which, by the way, I loved X. I saw it 3 times in theaters. It was my favorite movie of 2022. I loved Pearl as well. I appreciated how different they were from each other. Mia Goth in this movie, other than the opening scene where she does her audition for the Puritan, everything else after that is just a little flat in her performance. I don't know what it is. I mean, for a cokehead, she is very sleepy. I don't know, like, it was just, it sort of felt uninspired as far as the performance goes. And I think that Mia Goth is one of the best actors around right now. I feel like this material didn't do her justice. It didn't give her a whole lot to expand on in terms of her arc from X to this. I mean, her whole thing is, I just want to be famous and I won't accept a life I don't deserve. And it's like, by the end of the movie, I was like, okay, we get it. What else is there to you? Okay, you like coke. You'll do whatever it takes to be famous. Is there more to you? I mean, by the end of the movie, this whole shtick, it kind of starts to wear thin after a while. And that's no disrespect to Mia Goth. Again, she's great, but overall, I just felt the writing in this was kind of shit at times. I mean, if you compare it to X, you look at all the characters. I mean, Brittany Snow, Kid Cudi, Jen Ortega, the dude from The Ring who played Wayne. I mean, all those characters, and RJ, we know who they are. We understand their motivations. They're well fleshed out. We care for them. So whenever those characters die, you feel something. With this, the deaths that there were, we didn't spend enough time with these characters to develop a relationship, to really care. I don't know if Ty West was going for that. I mean, I know this movie has a lot of themes of like satanic panic, horror movie protest, similar to how they did in the 80s when Silent Night, Deadly Night came out. I mean, people were protesting that you can't have a killer Santa Claus, and you had these types of things everywhere. I guess at the end of the day, I'm just not sure what this movie is trying to say. Step on whoever you have to become famous. I don't know. There just wasn't a whole lot to it. And I mean, with to bring it back to X, there were moments in that movie that were very moving. The Fleetwood Mac part between Brittany Snow and Kid Cudi when they're singing that, and there's a split screen, and we see Pearl, and we see the group of friends hanging out. That was a very moving moment that like made me think about your mortality and aging and the passage of time. There was more heart in that one scene than this entire movie. I can't point to one moment and say like, whoa, that really affected me in some way. Even the death scenes themselves, nothing really stands out. I know that there were death scenes, but just right now there was not like, oh, holy shit, did you see that scene? There was basically zero dread or suspense in this movie. I mean, again, going back to X, rewatching that a couple weeks ago in theaters, the whole scene where Kid Cudi is looking for Howard's wife, Pearl is in the bed with Mia Goth, Wayne is looking for RJ. All these things are going on at the same time, so we cut to this, the tension builds and builds and builds. There were moments in X that were truly tense, and there were some legit terrifying moments. In this, I felt just kind of nothing. It almost felt like Ty West wasn't quite sure how to finish this movie. And I think that's very clear by the ending. Man, if I was on the fence leading up to the last 15 minutes of this movie, by that point, I was literally shaking my head like, what are we doing here? What the fuck is this? It was just not good. It was just head-scratchingly corny and zero suspense. It was like, how should we end this movie? I guess this works. Let's shoot it. I don't know, man. I can't believe that this is my review of the movie. I want to go see it again before I do a review with James next week, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to see it. I don't know. Like it just wasn't an enjoyable watch. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because after I saw X and Pearl, I walked out of those movies feeling something. I was like, holy shit, that was a good movie. With this, I was just like, man, talk about fumbling the trilogy, the conclusion to this story. It just wasn't there for me. And hey, that's not to say that there are not positives to this movie. There are. And if you've made it this far, you don't hate me yet. Sorry I didn't say these up front, but aesthetically, they nail the mid-80s sleazy LA perfectly. Cinematography, it looks great. I don't know if this was shot on 35 millimeter, but there is like this grainy aesthetic to the movie. Actually, this isn't really a spoiler, but my favorite scene of the movie was when MaXXXine was getting her head cast done, and she has all the latex, I believe, or whatever they use to make head cast, and it's like drooping down her face, and she's having flashbacks to 1979, and there's this eerie music playing. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of creepy. This is something. Other than that one moment, everything else just felt too over the top. There was so much potential with this movie. It had a great cast, and I love Ty West, so it kills me to say all this because I was really rooting for this movie. I just feel like in the end, it's just wasted potential. Like, you had all the pieces there to make an epic conclusion, and it just kind of added up to nothing. So yeah, maybe my opinion will change over time. I don't know. I'm gonna go watch it again. I wish I was more excited to do that, because after I saw X, I was like, shit, I can't wait to watch that again. Maybe my opinion will change. But yeah, for now, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. And hey, if you love the movie, I know a lot of people do. Don't let me stop you from having your fun. Go check it out. Form your own opinion. But I was very let down by this. Wasted potential, had some cool moments, but after all this build up, all this hype, you know, coming off of X and Pearl, and then the big finale, it was just kind of a letdown. So, hey, is what it is. But hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope I didn't piss you off too bad. These are just my opinions. Doesn't matter. Form your own. It's all good. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Got a lot more shit coming soon. I know I've kind of been off for a while, but we're about to get it rolling again soon. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.